Greetings to you and welcome to this episode of Grace Podcast. I'm Timothy Muse. I'll be your host as we spend this time together today. It's a joy to be with you. I want to thank you for tuning in. I want to thank you for making this podcast a part of your journey. And as always, I want to thank you for being on this journey. I want to thank you for investing in you, for making you important. I say this all the time, but it's so important to hear. I want you to hear it. I want you to hear me say it, how honored I am to be part of this, but how excited I am that you are investing in you. So important, very important. Most people don't. Most people just swim in the existence they've always been in. They find it to be enough, but you're choosing something more. You're choosing to invest in you. And for that, I am supremely happy. I am so thankful and honored to be part of it. But for the world, for the betterment of the world, you are investing in you. So good for you. Good for you. Kudos for doing that. I lift you up. I hold you close in this. It is so awesome that you're doing this, because when you're better, the world's better. That's just how it works. When one of us advances, the world advances, because we bring ourselves into the cumulative whole. We are individual beings, and as individual beings, we function as individual beings, but we are not isolated. We are part of something bigger. How we bring our individual selves into the greater community impacts the greater community, impacts the people around us. It impacts the systems that we participate in, the places we go. So the fact that you're investing in you, the fact that you are making you a priority is really, really awesome. I'm so happy for that. If this podcast is helpful, please share it out there. Put it out there on your social media feeds. I post on LinkedIn, X, Instagram, and Facebook. If you follow me or the life coaching on any one of those feeds, you're going to see these podcasts, these episodes. Share them out there. Tag me in it. I really, truly would love to see where you're listening at and where you're engaging from. If you're on one of the listening platforms, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or Amazon Music, then follow us. Give us a rating and review. Every positive rating and review tells the platform that people are listening, and it gives you notifications when there's a new episode. And if you want to reach out to me directly, gracelifecoaching.com. If you want to do some coaching, if you've got some questions, maybe you just need a little direction. Maybe you just need to have a conversation. Reach out to me. I'd love to see what we can do. It doesn't matter where you are. The joy of digital technology is that we can communicate all around the world. So if we have the same language, if we can find a common language, we can coach. And I can come alongside you. And it would be an honor to be able to do that. So gracelifecoaching.com is the website if you want to get a hold of me. I would love to hear from you. I truly would. Maybe you just got a comment or a question, or maybe you got something for the podcast. You'd like to hear a certain topic on the podcast. I'd love to hear from you. I really would. That really would be powerful for me to know that people are engaging and excited. So we just came off a nice long series about discipline and what discipline is and how discipline can be in your life and how we can use discipline. And that was really exciting. It was really challenging for me as well to enter into some of those topics. And I want to kind of dovetail off that a little bit. I want to kind of move into something similar but important in your daily work, in our daily work. Because we live in this world, and this world tells us that we would need to empty ourselves for others. And there's a lot of people that do that. Maybe you're one of them. Maybe you're that person that's always going to show up when somebody needs cookies baked, or somebody needs something done, a couch moved, or a yard mowed, and that's awesome. The greater world needs people like that. It really, truly does. The downturn to that, the shade to that, is that the more we invest in others, the less we invest in ourselves. There's only a limited amount of time and a limited amount of energy. So when we overinvest in others, we underinvest in ourselves, and that can have a backlash. That can have a serious downturn in our advancement, our growth, our balance, our peace. So though it is important to show up for others, it is also important for you to show up for yourself. And that's where I want to spend some time over the next few episodes, is showing up for yourself. I want to start with something simple but incredibly powerful. What does it actually mean to show up for yourself? What does it actually mean? That's where we're going to begin. Because a lot of people think showing up for yourself is, they think it means motivated, being motivated, feeling inspired, waking up ready to take on the day. But that's not it. That's not it. Showing up for yourself has very little to do with how you feel, and everything to do with what you do. When we look at discipline is very similar, and I think showing up for ourselves takes a lot of discipline. And I think this is a really good avenue getting into the discipline piece. Now, showing up for yourself. Showing up for yourself has very little to do with how you feel, whether you feel motivated or whether you feel inspired or whether you feel, generated. It has everything to do with what you do, how you show up for yourself. I want to break that down today. I want to break that down so I can give you something practical, something real, something you can actually use as you start to work on showing up for yourself. Most people struggle. They feel that they're lazy. It's like they can't do what they want to do, the workout or the eating program or, the reading or whatever advancement they want to make, and they don't get it done. So, it's like, I'm just lazy. I just can't do it. It's not that people are lazy. The struggle isn't laziness, my friends. It's inconsistency. Again, and thinking about discipline, the struggle isn't laziness, it's inconsistency. And this is where discipline comes in. People will start off strong, they'll feel good, they'll be excited, and then life happens, right? We get tired, we lose motivation, or, they don't feel like doing it anymore. And then suddenly everything stops. There's this idea that, this is what has to be, and then life gets in the way and motivation lacks and everything stops. Not because people don't care. People know what they need to do, but they make a dangerous assumption. And that dangerous assumption is, I'll show up when I feel like it. I'll show up when I feel like it. I base it on feelings. And that is a really dangerous assumption because feelings waver. Here's the truth. If you only show up when you feel like it, you will rarely show up at all. Feelings are unstable. They change daily, sometimes hourly. Okay? And if your actions are tied to your emotions, your consistency will always be broken because your emotions ebb and flow. So showing up for yourself means something deeper. It means going beyond emotions. Showing up for yourselves means honoring your commitments even when it's inconvenient, uncomfortable, or unexciting. It means doing the workout when you're tired. It means having the hard conversation when you'd rather avoid it. It means sitting down to work when distractions are easier. Again, all of this leans into that discipline. All right? It's not glamorous. It's not always inspiring, but it's powerful because every time you show up, you send a message to yourself. I can trust me. I can trust me to show up. And that's where everything changes. Confidence doesn't come from success. It comes from self-trust. And self-trust is built on one small action at a time. It's built on showing up for you, showing up and making you a priority. And I've talked about this before. And I know that a lot of people think that, focusing on me is selfish. Well, if we take away the emotional baggage that comes with selfish, then yes, showing up for you is selfish. It is focusing on the self. Okay. Now, there's a lot of emotional baggage that goes with that. People are selfish. They just look out for themselves. Well, no, they don't always look out for themselves, but they actually do look out for themselves from time to time. It is okay to be selfish in some areas. All right. Now, when we think about selfish in a negative way, we think about arrogant and taking and overshadowing and demanding. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is showing up for you. It's giving energy to you and making it a priority, not just whenever my day is done, whatever's left, I'll give to me. My workout pattern works best when I work out first thing in the morning. Because if I say to myself, you know what, I'll make time in the afternoon, there's never time made in the afternoon because it just happens. Life gets in the way. All right. So showing up for you means intentionally setting aside your priorities and focusing on them, setting aside time and intention for you. That is what it means to show up for yourself. Because when you don't show up for yourself, there is a cost. We would like to argue that being selfless and opening ourselves and pouring ourselves out is really a great thing, and it is. But when we don't show up for ourselves, there is a cost. It is easy to ignore this, but it's true. When you don't show up for yourself, it's not just that one moment that's lost. It creates a pattern, okay? Your brain starts to create a pattern. And that pattern then begins to become stronger and stronger. You create a pattern. You tell yourself, I'll do it tomorrow. I just need to get a little motivated again. This week I was just off. Okay. And that happens. That truly happens. Sometimes we are just off. Sometimes life throws us curveballs and we just keep getting hit in the hip and foul balling it. It happens. But over time, something deeper happens. You stop trusting yourself. You start questioning your own discipline, your own ability, your own follow through. Okay. When we say, this is just an off week, and then that off week becomes 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, all of a sudden, what we say we care about, I care about my health, I care about my family, but I'm not showing it. I'm not showing up for it. We start to question our own discipline. We start to question our own trust. We question our abilities. We question our own follow through. We stop trusting ourselves. And once we stop trusting ourselves, then that affects everything. It affects our work. It affects our health. It affects our relationships. It affects our goals. Not because you're incapable, but because you've trained yourself not to show up. And that's the hard truth most people don't want to face. The hard truth most people don't want to face is that their words and their actions are not they're not together. They're not running on the same page. They're incongruous because the words say one thing, but the actions say another. You begin to train yourself not to show up to your words. You stop trusting yourself. And that's a really powerful moment, because when we stop trusting ourselves, then our goals and our dreams and our desires and our relationships, they no longer matter to the same level. They're less than. They fall back. So that's why it's so important to show up for ourselves. So let's make this practical. And some of these things are going to overlap. This is really the thing, is that when we're doing this growth piece, we overlap these pieces because that's how we grow the best. It's like shingling a roof. You don't put one shingle and then butt up the next shingle. No, you overlap them. So when we overlap, we create stronger layers. We create this identity. So let's get practical. And we've talked about some of these things before, but I'm going to talk about them again because they're really important. Let's make it not about theory, but about action. The first thing is to define your non-negotiables. We've talked about non-negotiable before, but what is non-negotiable for you? What is something that you have to do every day that you will not sacrifice? It doesn't have to be big, it doesn't have to be overwhelming, but it has to be something that is non-negotiable in your day. Pick 3 small actions that you will do every day. Every day. These are non-negotiables. You will do these in a day. You will make time to do them. You will show up for yourself and you will do them each day. They're non-negotiable. Things like 10 minutes of movement. Okay, moving our body is so vastly important. I could spend 10 podcast episodes just listing, one after the other, the research and the information behind the importance of moving your body. Movement. 10 minutes of movement every day. Doesn't have to be at the gym. If you like going to the gym, that's great. Take a walk around the block, walk up and down the steps, walk around the kitchen, do a couple of jumping jacks. Movement. Make movement a non-negotiable. You have to move every day. Now, I'm pretty lucky in my circumstance. I'm not tied to my desk. I can get up and move around. I can walk through the building. As many of you know, I'm a pastor, so I oversee a congregation. If I want to get up and walk around outside, I don't have anybody telling me, "Hey, it's not your break. Hey, you have to be at your desk." I don't have that. Not everybody is lucky to have that. Okay, but make movement a non-negotiable. You have to move your body every day. 10 minutes, whatever it is, whatever movement you like. Maybe you like to do 10 minutes of yoga or Tai Chi. Maybe you like to dance. Maybe you like to do calisthenics. Maybe you like to walk. 10 minutes, non-negotiable every day. 5 minutes of reflection. 5 minutes to just sit back and reflect. No noise, no distractions, no nothing. Maybe that's 5 minutes of journaling or 5 minutes of free writing or what have you. Empty your brain. Get it out. Okay. Reflection is really powerful because not only does it empty our brain, but it also begins to give us clarity. We get clarity when we reflect. We get clarity about what our goals are, what our hopes are, what our dreams are, what we're really looking at. So 5 minutes of reflection and one focused work task. One focused work task every day. And when I look at that, we're talking about depending on the focused work task. It could be emptying the dishwasher. It could be writing one report. It could be doing the laundry. We're talking about 25 minutes in your day. In the totality of your day, set aside those non-negotiables. I'm going to do this. Heck, if you're listening to the podcast, maybe the podcast is a great time to move your body. You know what? You're listening to me. Get up and walk around the house. Get up and walk around the yard. Go for a walk around the neighborhood. The streaming services and the data availability, get up and move while you're listening. Get up and move. Make these your anchors. No matter what happens, you show up for these. These are yours. This is you being you. This is you showing up for you. There's a lot of energy out there that is trying to press into you and take that away. You're showing up for you. You're saying, I'm important, okay? Define your non-negotiables. Remove emotion from your decisions. This is huge. We emotionalize everything from what we wear to what we eat to what we say to where we go. Remove emotions. Stop asking, do I feel like doing this? Do I feel like doing this? No, this is what I do. Okay. Do I feel like moving my body today? No, not really. No. It's a non-negotiable. This is what I do. I will show up for myself, even if I don't feel like it. That shift starts to rewire your brain because it's not an option. It's an identity. I'm going to show up for me. I'm going to show up for me in my 10 minutes of movement. I don't feel like, doesn't matter what you feel like. I'm going to show up for me. It's like, I don't feel like eating healthy today. It doesn't matter if you feel like eating healthy. You eat healthy because it's good for you. I don't feel like going to work today. It doesn't matter if you feel like going to work today. If you're not physically ill, you go to work. Okay, you show up. So remove emotion from your decisions. Not that we don't make emotional decisions and not that emotions aren't important, but emotions drive us. And when we say, I don't feel like doing this, guess what? You're not going to do it, regardless of what it is. No, this is what I do. This is me showing up for me, even if I don't feel like it. This is me showing up for me. This is me taking that 10 minutes of moving my body, even if I don't feel like it. Now, again, if you're hurting, if you're sick, that's a whole different story. Please don't hear me say that, you could be, wrapped up in a blanket with COVID or the flu, but yeah, you got to move your body today. No, I'm talking about emotional. I don't feel like it. I don't feel like it is not a statement that should be part of you showing up for you. Track your follow through. For the next 7 days, track one thing. Did you show up? Yes or no? Okay. So maybe it's your 10 minutes of exercise, 10 minutes of movement. Did you show up for that? Yes or no? Simple. Yes or no? No excuses, no overthinking, just honestly. Speak to yourself honestly because awareness creates change. You know what? I said that I was going to make this a non-negotiable. And as I look back at my past week, I did it twice and then I didn't do it the third day. And then I did the fourth day, then I didn't do it the fifth and sixth day. So if 4 out of 7, is that a non-negotiable? No, not at that percentage rate. A non-negotiable should be 100%. Okay. No excuses, no overthinking. Well, everything was so busy. No, show up for you. Track your follow through because awareness creates change. Oh, I said I was going to do this for me and I didn't. And I need to focus on me. I need to spend a little bit of time on me. This is even more important if you work full time, if you've got kids, if you're running families and systems, it's more important you show up for you than ever because all of these things are just pulling you down. So it's more important than ever that you show up for you. Start small, but stay consistent. Start small, but stay consistent. This is where a lot of people get it wrong. They start big, they start too fast, and then they burn out. We talked about this during discipline. Start small. Instead, lower the bar. Make it manageable. Focus on consistency over intensity. Look, what you're trying to do is you're trying to rebuild trust in yourself. So if you try to do these expressively huge things and you don't show up, you're not going to rebuild that trust. So you want to find something small and manageable and do it so that you can rebuild your trust. So you can look back over the past 7 days and say, you know what? It wasn't a lot, but I showed up for myself every day for my 10-minute workout. It wasn't a lot, but I showed up every day for my 5-minute reflection. Because now your brain is starting to rewrite that trust factor and say, yeah, look, we can show up for ourselves. We can trust ourselves. We can trust our word. We can trust our ability. Okay? Because here's what happens when you start showing up. Nothing dramatic at first, of course, because it happens. No big breakthroughs, no instant transformations. You're not going to wake up one day and be all the way to the end, but you're going to start realizing some subtle shifts. You'll start keeping promises to yourself. And over time, that builds something powerful. Trust. The trust that has been lost every time you said you want to do something but didn't do it. The trust that's been lost every time you made a commitment to yourself and didn't show up for yourself. Once you trust yourself, you become unstoppable. Because then those little things become big things. You can show up for yourself in bigger ways and more incredible ways and ways that you have longed to. But look, you're not going to show up for yourself in big ways if you're not showing up for yourself in small ways. So start small. Start with things that are manageable. Start with things that you can do and be consistent with and build from there. Okay? You're looking to rebuild trust in yourself, and that doesn't happen overnight. It happens over time. It happens with consistency, not big aha moments. So start small. Not everything is perfect, but because you know you show up anyway, then you start to trust yourself. All right? So start trusting yourself. Start small and trust yourself. So here's what I'd like you to do. I'd like you to get back into those non-negotiables, and show up for yourself every day. And even if you just need to pick one, okay? Even if you're going to start building these non-negotiables, and you want to start with one thing, that one thing that you've been thinking about. And we all think about those one things. I'm thinking about being a writer. Okay, so show up for yourself and write 5 minutes every day. 5 minutes, 1 sentence, 2 sentences, 3 sentences, 5 minutes every day. That's where you're showing up for yourself. Or I want to get healthier. All right. So 10 minutes of movement every day. Show up for yourself. Pick that one thing and show up for yourself every single day, no matter what. No excuses, no negotiations, no emotional, I don't feel like it. Show up for you. Begin to prove to yourself that you can show up, that you can show up for you. Because this isn't about changing your whole life overnight, my friends. It is about proving to yourself that you can do one thing at a time, one trust piece at a time, because they will build. There's that momentum. Remember, I talked about momentum many times. There's that momentum. When you show up for yourself in one thing, you start to show up for yourself in 2 things and 3 things and 4 things, and it gets bigger and bigger. Look, you don't need more motivation. You don't need a better plan. You need to show up again and again until it becomes who you are. That's what I have for you today, my friends. I hope it's helpful. If it is, please share it out there. Put it out there on your social media feeds. If you're on one of the listening platforms, and follow us, give us a rating and review. And if you want to reach out to me, GraceLifeCoaching.com is the website. As always, Grace Life Coaching, we want you to be the best you.